What is going on, everybody? My name is Tony Tucker, and today I sit alone in the fantasy football junkyard. We are talking waiver wire pickups for week 6. So many questions we have to ask as we now have bye weeks upon us, but let's just throw this one out there. Would you rather Geno Smith or Jacoby Brissett? Think on it for a second. That would be a tough one, right? Jacoby Brissett, I believe the Dolphins play the Jaguars in London on Sunday morning. And then Geno Smith gets Pittsburgh. But he's got the better weapons. Geno Smith has DK Metcalf on Sunday Night Football. Magical things could happen. Who would you start in that matchup? Hopefully that is not the case, and we're going to get into other quarterbacks, running backs, receiver looking pretty light, maybe some shots in the dark. We're going to talk about them. And then some tight ends. And we'll wrap the show up. Should be pretty brief. The chat is free. Feel free to jump in there and ask any questions, and we'll try and hash it out. We'll have some fun with the show. Oh, Spida Season is already responding and say, I think I'm taking Brissett, but it's close. I agree, Spida, because at least you get the Jaguars. Like, who's he throwing to? No, Devonta Parker, maybe Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki, but at least you get the lesser defense. And who knows, maybe Myles Gaskin, who we will be talking about later, catches another 10 passes and goes off. So I would go Brissett in that hypothetical in a very narrow fashion. But let's stream quarterbacks, because here's what we have. I should have written down the teams on buys, but I think it's the Jets, the Falcons, the Niners, the Saints. Somebody jump in there if I'm missing one of them. So there's not really a lot in the quarterback situation that I think you were probably starting, unless you're an idiot like me and you've been clinging to the idea that Trey Lance is going to be a thing. Like this past Sunday, we're gonna be waiting even that much longer, which is extremely disappointing to me because I have Trey Lance in 4 leagues. One of them is a dynasty, so he's staying there. But you probably weren't starting Jameis Winston, Zach Wilson, Matt Ryan, maybe. The big issue is whether or not you have Russell Wilson, who's now out for 4 weeks. And do you want to trade? Do you want to trade your depth? I'm somebody who doesn't like to trade depth. I'd rather stream the best option until Russell Wilson comes back. And I have a good one for you. But my favorite QB streamer, if you need one for this week, is Taylor Heinicke. And the reason I'm picking him, I know that he was awful last week. And I may be one of the few people who supports this kid's journey in the NFL. But he's had some pretty good fantasy games. I mean, they might be ugly, but he's put up some points. 3 20-point fantasy games, that's pretty good. And he gets the Chiefs. And if you've seen the Chiefs defense this year, no bueno, my friend. Not very good. And this could be a shootout. This could be a lot of, because the Washington football team defense isn't good either. So I would stream Taylor Heinicke, but the guy that I like better than him, if you need a streamer longer, is Carson Wentz. So I went and did, some research before waivers ran the previous week, and Carson Wentz had 5 good matchups. Because like I said, I have Trey Lance in a dynasty league, and I knew he was on a bye this week, and I was like, who out there has a decent stretch of matchups? And Carson Wentz was playing Baltimore, so I wasn't starting him on Monday night. But I'm now starting Carson Wentz for a few weeks in that dynasty league, waiting for him. Carson Wentz gets Houston this week, then San Francisco. They haven't been shutting down the pass. I mean, I'm not really afraid of it. I don't love it. Tennessee, the Jets, and the Jaguars. Potential, 5 weeks? 5 usable weeks out of Carson Wentz coming up. He looked good against Baltimore last night. Michael Pittman Jr. seems to be becoming a thing. There was flashes of Paris Campbell. Was it just one night in Paris? I don't know. But I do think that Carson Wentz can be streamable if you're looking for somebody and you don't want to give anything up because you're panicking about Russell Wilson. Maybe you have a bunch of depth. Maybe you got lucky, and your receiving core is really deep because you grabbed guys like Hollywood Brown and Mike Williams. Like I've seen some teams where it's like, how'd you draft this team? But then you think about it and you're like, oh, well, Cooper Kupp went in like the 5th round, and then Deebo Samuel went here, and then you got Mike Williams and Hollywood late. It's like, oh, your team is loaded, but it's just how things shook out for you there. Spider with another question here. Which RB do I pick up? Gaskin, Booker, or Williams? Oh, this is a tough one. We are going to get to this conundrum in a minute, but just in case you are going to leave sooner than that, I'm probably picking up Myles Gaskin. I don't know what happened in week 4 when he was just like not on the field at all. I don't know what happened, but for whatever reason, he was back out there using the passing game, got some runs. If Myles Gaskins is available to be picked up, we're going to be talking about that because he is still owned a lot. But I do know for a fact that some people drop Myles Gaskin, and if he's out there, he would be number 1 because I think he has the longest stretch. But we'll talk more about that in a second. Going back to the Carson Wentz situation. Pick him up, stream him. Don't trade. If you have Russell Wilson, put him on your IR spot. Don't trade. Don't lose your depth. Injuries, they're getting the best of all of us this season. My final quarterback that I would stream is Big Ben. He gets Seattle's defense on Sunday night. And yes, he just lost Juju, but the Seahawks defense does not look good. I would stream Big Ben as my third option. And an honorable mention for Trevor Lawrence there. Let's go ahead and talk about running backs real quick. Now, if you're just streaming for this 1 week, I'm going Daryl Williams, number 1. CEH just went on to the IR, so he's out for a minimum of 3 weeks. Here's the thing about Daryl Williams. They seem to trust him a little bit more for goal line carries. They like him better in the running game, the blocking. Like, he can catch the ball. He might be out there on third downs. Like, he might get to be a third down back. Like, he might have sort of that like Mike Davis, effect where he gets on a little bit of a run and he's a guy that could be an RB2 for you for at least the next 3 weeks. And if he's balling and the team is rolling, CEH could be in trouble in like a legit low end of the timeshare when he comes back. I would then go with Devonta Booker. I don't love this matchup against the Rams, but you got to think that he's going to get the bulk of the action there. I think their backup to him is like Brightwell or something, a guy that I'm not even familiar with, Gary Brightwell. So Booker's probably going to get a lot of love there, and he can catch the ball. And then I just put down a bunch of guys that I would look at, and Myles Gaskin falls in that category. If he was dropped, target him, pick him up. I think that he has the best season-long value that you could have on your roster. But other guys you might want to look at. Samaje Perine went to the IR, so then you got to look at Chris Evans, big dude out of Michigan. Have the handcuff. Joe Mixon played through that ankle injury, but you never know. Alex Collins, Chris Carson dealing with a neck injury. Neck injuries freak me out. I have Alex Collins in 2 leagues because of that. I love Chris Carson, but a neck injury for a running back who plays with that sort of physicality, he might be somebody worth stashing. I don't know the status on Chris Carson. And then Giovanni Bernard is out there. He actually got 4 carries in the last game, and he's going to be Tom Brady's James White. He will emerge. He will continue to be out there. Like, he's a veteran. He's smart. Brady can trust him, and he is a great pass catcher. So get Giovanni Bernard on some of your benches. He's going to have value later in the season. And I also think that, like, if Leonard Fournette went down, Brady might feel comfortable running him there, because Brady really only runs the ball so that he can throw the ball to like his 15 passing options that he has. It's ridiculous that he can make like that Mickens or Johnson or whoever, Scotty Miller. He can make these people a thing because he's Tom freaking Brady, people. Another shout out to Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know if he's going to start. I don't know what's going on with Damian Harris, But the one thing that we all know that Bill Belichick hates, just makes him rip the sleeves off of his hoodie, is fumbling. Damian Harris has now fumbled twice. Like, this one didn't cost him like it did in the Miami game, but Belichick does not put up with that. And he got a chest injury. If Ramondre Stevens can come out and prove that he can block in situations where they need him and he can hang on to the football, Stevenson might be able to do that little flash he had in the preseason. So keep an eye on him. Let's go talk to receivers. We got big swinging Kadarius Toney showing up, a guy that a lot of people were excited about if you talk to him pre-draft, like the things he could do. Now, whether or not you thought it was a good pick for the Giants, who clearly need offensive line help, is a whole other question. But let's just talk about fantasy. Jumps onto the scene with like 189 yards and multiple catches, and could have had more if he decided not to swing on some folks. So I would target Kadarius Toney. He does have a tough matchup with the Rams, but they might be getting back Slayton. They might be getting back Sterling Shepard. If the other guy, the tight end, if Evan Ingram could ever stay healthy and Kenny Golladay can stay healthy, like Toney might just get that much more space to operate in, the more weapons that they get back there. And who knows, maybe they use him out of the backfield because Barkley's gone. So maybe they try to find ways to scheme him, maybe not so much running, but passing out of the backfield. We're seeing that more. Well, at least I'm seeing it a little bit more, where I'm seeing receivers lining up and then coming out into little flares options and stuff like that. And then a little bit of love here for Amon-Ra St. Brown, because there's been some injuries. Cephas started off the year hot. People are like Khalif Raymond. He could be an 80s R&B singer for all that we know, but he was one of the targets out there. Tyrell Williams never got healthy. And TJ Hawkinson, I don't know. Are they just bracket coveraging TJ Hawkinson? They're like, this guy's not going to beat us. We are not letting somebody who looks like they're from a grunge band beat us in football, in real football. And it's hurt TJ Hawkinson. He's just not getting the ball. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, back-to-back double-digit fantasy games. The targets are going up. They're easy targets. He's playing in the slot. So I actually really like Amon-Ra St. Brown as an ad. I had him in 2 leagues, and I dropped him 2 weeks ago, and now I'm trying to fight to get him back. I'm a little bummed that I gave up early on Amon-Ra. Another guy I want to throw some love out to, I don't know how desperate you are, but Adam Humphries. I believe Curtis Samuel's out again. Shootout, Washington, KC. Look at Adam Humphries. He got some targets last week. They're going to need to score points. And then Humphries, McLaurin, we'll get to another player in that offense that I like. And then finally, look to see if Rashad Bateman is available, because he's coming back from the IR. I have Bateman in 3 leagues that I am taking off of the IR this week. I don't know that I'll play him, but after what we saw last night, when anybody else out there in the chat, please, did Lamar Jackson ruin your night like he did to me? Because I had Lamar Jackson in another league, which I only needed 30 points, which he got, but I was playing against Mark Andrews too. You couldn't just throw it to another tight end. You just only have eyes for Marcus Andrews, Lamar, and ruined my night in 3 different leagues. Congratulations, Lamar looked amazing. Spida with another questions. I never know when to start AB because he's really boom or bust in that Bucs offense. Spida, I disagree. I think he's a lot of boom and very little bust. Like, if we go back, I think he's had 3 good weeks out of the 4 that he's been available. Fire up Antonio Brown and deal with it later. Thursday Night Football against the Eagles. Tom Brady hates the Eagles. Absolutely. They beat him in a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Like, if he gets a chance to kind of pour it on a little bit there, like, I think I could see him, kind of dunking on the Eagles for beating him in a Super Bowl. But we'll see there. LeBron's Brian, me and my opponent were tied, and he had Lamar, and I had Taylor and Pittman. So you won that matchup, though. Like, Taylor went off. Especially getting involved in the screen game like that, LeBron's. That's exciting if you own Jonathan Taylor. My little brother had a huge comeback from Jonathan Taylor, ended up winning by like 1.8 points, 30-something point comeback. What do you think of Taylor, Tim Patrick for Taylor? So I'm assuming Jonathan Taylor and Tim Patrick for Ridley, Cooks, and Jacobs trade in PPR. Ooh, this is spicy. Wow. I actually kind of love this trade a little bit. Like Jonathan Taylor, for whatever reason, kind of freaks me out. Like Marlon Mack was getting a lot of involvement. And if Jonathan Taylor doesn't hit that big screen pass, it's a slightly different game for him. He did. So hate to play the if game. But you're getting Calvin Ridley and Brandon Cooks, who's a target monster, whether it's Davis Mills or Tyrod Taylor. He's QB immune. He's safe. And Josh Jacobs, if he can get healthy, I think can have some value. We saw him catching passes against the Chargers. Last week was just a mess. We can tie that up to the whole situation that's there if you would like. But I kind of like this trade jumping up with two receivers. That's two startable receivers. That's a solid flex in Cooks and a guy that I think could be a number one. I would monitor the Ridley situation. Why did he miss? Is it a serious thing? Like maybe do we need to be sending out some prayers for his family or something like that? Like maybe he's done longer. I would do some more research, but I kind of like this trade of you jumping up at, two of the players for sure. Because Tim Patrick is going to lose some playing time. Jerry Jeudy's coming back. Another guy in the receiver department. Look to see if somebody panicked, didn't use an IR spot. Jerry Jeudy should be back in a couple of weeks here. Spider, that's true, but the 1 week I started him, he got me 4. That was the 1 week, though, bro. Trust. I've been starting him. He's the only player I have on a dynasty team. I drafted for the future. Antonio Brown is the only player I have in a dynasty that is like over the age of 24 years old, and he starts in my flex every week, and he's crushing it. I have a dynasty team with all rookies and second-year players on it, and I am in like second place in that league and destroying. And I'm getting back T. Higgins. It's awesome. It's way closer than it should have been. Yes, I agree. You're right. That matchup is way closer than it should have been, especially when Taylor went off. Pittman gets the big touchdown for you. Felke, will Mark Andrews keep? I think that Mark Andrews finishes inside the top 4 tight ends for sure. I still think there's some life for TJ Hawkinson, Darren Waller, and Travis Kelce. So somewhere in there, we saw life from Kyle Pitts finally. Thank goodness that he finally got it together. All he had to do was travel 80,000 miles to London, get over there. Were toilets flush backwards, or is that only in Australia? I don't know. Geography was never a strong thing. Neither were random facts about toilet flushing, apparently. But Felke, I do like Mark Andrews to continue to be a beast. And if they get back Bateman and he's healthy, and you got stretching the field with Hollywood Brown, and then you're kind of just running Mark Andrews underneath, Bateman has the ability to go up and get balls. Maybe Lamar throws him some 50-50 balls because he's going to have a prime time, like big body number 1 receiver if Bateman can get on the field and stay healthy. So yeah, I like Mark Andrews. Another one in here from Spider, Lockett and Marquise Brown for Diggs. I'm going to go no on this one. And here's why. I love Stephon Diggs, but Tyler Lockett will have value later on, and Marquise Brown is putting up big numbers. And for whatever reason, Josh Allen has matured and is maturing every week and doesn't need to force the ball. And he has a reliable Emmanuel Sanders, rebirth. Dawson Knox is getting target. Now, you're not necessarily you're getting the better player. If you get Diggs, you're getting the best player. But here's the thing. If something happens to Diggs, you are now losing big time. Like if there's a hammy tweak to one of these guys, Lockett or Brown, you still can put in Brown or Lockett, who's ever healthy in that situation. I like having those two guys. And I think Marquise Brown, his value is legit. I would stick with him. I think I got through all of my receivers, so I want to go to tight end here. Going to finish up in the next couple of minutes. Feel free to throw out any more questions and talk fantasy. I absolutely love it. Tight end. Hunter Henry, thank you for showing up. A few weeks late, I dropped him in the one league that I had him in, and I cannot get him back, which is fine. I dropped him for Dawson Knox, so that's all good. But Hunter Henry, back-to-back games, putting up some numbers, getting more involved. I think at least 5 targets in the last 3 games. And if there is an injury to running back, maybe they throw the ball a little bit more. Like Mac Jones looks good. If Joe were here, I'd have him going, Mac Jones, just in only the way that Joseph Morley can. I look there. I'm not worried about the Jonnu Smith situation. I almost added Kendrick Bourne, but he didn't quite get there. Like just another solid week of targets in a row. I just couldn't put him on the list. In the receiver department, another tight end I like, Ricky Seals-Jones, filling in again, shootout in KC. I think whether or not it's a real shootout, whether or not Washington football team can actually play with them or not, who cares? They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Heinicke might drop back 45 times in this game. A lot of targets this last week for Ricky Seals-Jones, potential for a touchdown in that game. Final tight end, and then I will get to a couple of these comments in here. Pat Freiermuth. With the injury to Juju Smith-Schuster, that frees up some targets in the middle of the field. They're still going to be heavily targeting Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. I almost put James Washington on this list, but we'll see. James, we try to make James Washington a thing. At least I have a few times. I've drafted him late on teams. He just never seems to really get it. I know he wanted to trade at one point. Now Pittsburgh's probably happy they didn't trade him. So we'll see. But I think Pat Freiermuth could see the middle of the field a little bit more wide open without Juju there. And maybe he becomes a tight end that you, not just stream, but you could keep him on your team. Let's go back to a couple of these comments. Fel K, my favorite. Fel K, how you doing? Lamb will pop off the next game. Lamb popped last game. Lamb pops all the time. He was the third round pick in my dynasty league. Like I made sure to get CeeDee Lamb because I think he's going to be one of the best receivers in the league. He's young. Dak's young. Amari's fading out. Gallup may not be with the team. I mean, Cooper's not fading out, but he's closer to the end than the beginning. Lamb's right there at the beginning. So yeah, I could definitely see him going off. Who did the Cowboys? Cowboys have another easy matchup again this week. Dallas. They're playing the Patriots. Get it together, Belichick and that defense. Letting Davis Mills rip you guys up like that in New England. Spite season. Does Lockett's value go way down with Russ being out? I think that it does go down. I don't know if way down, because when you watch Tyler Lockett, doesn't it always feel like every catch he makes is like over the shoulder like this towards the sideline, and it's like a throw you feel like only Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson could make? And it's like, hey, drop it into this tiny little, like desk trash can that we have here, and Tyler Lockett will catch it, slide to his rear end out of bounds, and have the ball. That's how it feels for Tyler Lockett. So yeah, maybe that value, you're right. Maybe it's high. But Wilson wants to be back. He will be back. Go Hawks out there throwing a Tyler Lockett, and you'll want him for the final, 7-8 weeks of the fantasy football season. But if you can get Diggs, if you have other receivers, I don't know what your roster is, and you can be locking in Diggs next to, let's say, Cooper Kupp or Debo or Mike Williams or one of these other guys that's really emerged, then pull the trigger on that trade that we were talking about earlier. Fel K. If any coach makes Trayvon Diggs not get an INT, it's probably Belichick. I kind of disagree with that statement based on this fact. If you're going to beat the Cowboys, he's going to have to be a little dangerous. Fel K, plug your ears. I hate to say this. Cowboys are way better than I thought they were going to be. The defense turned around so much faster than I think most people were projecting. You have young people out there. You have new pieces, a new defensive coordinator, and Dan Quinn has come in and shown that if you give this guy talent, he can put people in spots to make plays. What happened in Atlanta for 5 seasons or whatever, no freaking idea. But what we're seeing, the Cowboys defense taking the ball away, that was one of their biggest problems. Now all of a sudden, Trayvon Diggs can't be stopped. This dude's catching everything. He had an interception on a play last week that was like a highlight play, but he couldn't come into bounds. But he was 11 feet in the air and then just floating down. I love it when they do that stuff in slow motion too. It looks so cool. It makes me wish that I wasn't super overweight and had a vertical, because I would then just use the slow motion camera that is now on my iPhone, and I would do all sorts of cool videos, but I don't have it. I appreciate everybody who jumped in here talking football, fantasy football, real football, whatever it is. Just love it. Yeah, I think everybody who's been in here has already subscribed to the Warzone Sports Network, and we definitely appreciate that. Send the video to some friends. Send this video to people you hate, and just be like, hey, hang out with this dope for the next 25 minutes. We shall be back. There's 3 shows on tonight. We got Sports Force. We got not Sports Force. It's Cup of Joe overreactions. We got the Ballers Report. Coach Steve Tucker of the Shreveport Mavs. It's a professional basketball team in Dallas. He's going to be joining Willie Epting Jr. And then, what is it? 6 o'clock. Laughing to myself quietly with J Fly, J100, J150, J Keeping It Real, J Fly. If you watch the shows, you know he's insane. Does shows where he absolutely he talks to himself. But we love J Fly, and the shows are always fun there. And then, yeah, jam-packed schedules all week long. We really appreciate interacting. A couple more comments, and then I will play the music and get out of here. All of my receivers are D-Hop, McLaurin, Lockett, AB, and Hollywood. Go ahead and make that trade. If you can add Stephon Diggs to D-Hop, McLaurin, and AB, Spida, if somebody wants that, make that trade. I didn't know that was your team. You have enough depth. Make that trade right now. Send it out while we are speaking. Stephon Diggs, D-Hop, and McLaurin, you'd be starting. AB would be on your bench. Woo! That's a championship squad right there. I'm smiling. First person to give Cowboys credit besides Mike. I hate the Cowboys. Suck it, Cowboys. Hey, what's up? Do I claim Tony and drop LaVisca? Ooh, you don't have anybody else to drop? Because LaVisca was not involved in that offense, but I still think without DJ Chark, LaVisca is going to be part of this. He's going to be part of this offense. And as Trevor gets more and more into it, they have a bye week coming up, right? That gives Trevor more time to watch tape, understand reads. Maybe he gets from going from being fully, he went in the first couple of weeks, he was fully locked in on his receivers and he was throwing more interceptions. Now he's getting through his progressions a little bit quicker. We saw that in the Thursday night game against the Bengals where he had success. He looked good again in this last matchup. If you have somebody else that you could drop, I would, but yes, I would pick up Tony because he looks good, and they need playmakers out there, and they need healthy playmakers. Slayton, Shepard, Ingram, Golladay, they don't stay healthy. Tony can stay healthy. He could have a lot of value this year, and they used a first-round pick on him, so they're invested. What happened to Mac Daddy? Mac Daddy's working. He's hustling all the time. He's over on TikTok over there. Check him out, writing, doing all sorts of stuff. He should be back with more videos during the NBA season. Let's see. Do I drop Golladay at this point for Gaskins? Whoa. You can't. I don't know. I never draft Golladay, so I don't have this issue. I don't want to tell you to drop Golladay right now. You drafted him too high. Or if he does hit that stretch where he's healthy for 6 games, you have a guy that maybe you can look at trading. If he can string together a couple good weeks, or at least a couple weeks where he's heavily targeted, he's a name that other people in your league, I think, would trade. And I can almost guarantee that if you drop him, somebody else is going to pick him up and put him on their bench, even if they won't trade for him right now. So I can't tell you to do that. Find another way, if Gaskins is on your waivers, to pick him up, but don't drop Golladay. I forgot to mention him in the wide receiver. Dude, if you make that trade, Spida, and you pull it off before the trade deadline, you're going to have an extra spot because you're going to send out Hollywood and Lockett for Diggs, and then you have an extra bench spot that you could fill up with Gaskin, and you still have Golladay in there. And that's freaking crazy, by the way. TDs. Tony, a must start from now on. I don't think a must start, but he's a great flex option. I think we need to see what it looks like with Slayton and Shepard in there. I'm not somebody to go like crazy overreaction. My reaction feels like you need to have him on your team. I don't know if he's a must start. we'll see closer to what goes on. I don't know. Also, is there any suspension ramifications from him doing the dumbest thing that you can do on a football field, which is punching somebody in a helmet that's meant to protect concussions? They put these things on to help them to stop like human car crashes, but you're going to punch it with your very delicate hand that you need to catch footballs with. I just will never understand punching somebody in a helmet. Does not understand. I just like bend over. That's one of those jokes from when I was a kid. My team is the best. Good for you, bend over. Fantastic. Going with McPherson, kicker this week against the Lions, my secret weapon. Do you agree? I guess. McPherson. Drop LaVisca for like Randall, Tony, or Shepard. Why is everybody hating on LaVisca so much? I guess. Yeah, you could. I mean, here's the thing. If LaVisca goes out and has another bad game, he'll still be on the waiver wire for a while because they go to London, then they have their bye. He'll still be on the waiver wire for like 2 weeks if he has a bad game. And, maybe something doesn't work out or you get an injury, you can re-add him to your team. So maybe my love for LaVisca Chenault is just foolish and you guys should all just give up. I have him in my flex right now over Ertz. Yeah. I think that's good. I think he's referencing Tony up there. Okay. I'm a CMA. Yes. Thank you, Spider. We appreciate it. Very, very much appreciate that. He's talking about no suspension for Tony. That's great. Yeah. Advice. I mean, yes, advice. We just love fantasy and talking about it. And bend over, perfect way to end it. All those funny names when I was a kid, Seymour Butts. Right? All the jokes they used to put in The Simpsons when I was younger. Appreciate you all for stopping in here, blowing up this chat, keeping me company. We shall see you guys later today. Until next time, peace.